When looking at a manufacturer, one thing I look at is their portfolio, their range of vehicles, whether they offer small to full-size options, either in the sedan or SUV market. And some manufacturers have been doing this for decades, while other ones, well, are just coming to the table. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson, now a newcomer to the market, and one particular manufacturer is a 2018 VW Atlas. And what Volkswagen has done is finally upsize their SUVs, just like they've done their sedans over the last several decades. Now, I will mention that today is my birthday, and what a better way to celebrate it than in a new vehicle, and especially one so big. I also like to give a shout out to a viewer, Alan Stallings, whose birthday is tomorrow, so we have a little bit in common, and he loves this vehicle as well. Now, what we like with the new VW Atlas is exactly what you see, the overall size of it. Now, I'll get into the numbers in just a second, but just from the outside, you can tell it definitely is going to hold its own, has a presence on the open road. What I also like is the exterior styling. They didn't go too curvy, chiseled, really awkwardness. They kept to the family tradition of pretty much straightforward lines. I wouldn't go as far as saying plain Jane, just enough styling, but this one has a nice, beefy kind of SUV quality to it. And you also see it in the overall height. Now, as for the look, I like the fact this is, of course, that black regal exterior, some modest chrome accents around here. This one having more of a brushed look, so really subdued accents. Even down low, just a modest accent down here. Some vehicles are really over blinging it, taking the upscale, well, just a cheap scale kind of look. But everywhere on this vehicle is body color around with just nice appointments. Looking at the profile, the first thing you'll notice is really this is straightforward SUV. It doesn't make any bones about it. It wants you to know that it's going to offer about as much interior volume as the other ones in this segment. Now, what I like is, of course, is Jeep Grand Cherokee, Ford Explorer. All those have the same rugged exterior. Now, what I like about this versus Jeep Grand Cherokee is exactly that third row. Now, when you look at the overall numbers, what you're going to see is about 198 inches overall. That's about 10 inches more than the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I've always mentioned that model falls short with its interior volume. So by VW stepping up and delivering this amount of space on their first attempt when it comes to 3 rows, it really lets people know that this is going to deliver in that mid-size segment. Because after all, once you get over about 200 some inches, that's really into more of a full-size segment. Now, as for the wheelbase, very stretched at 117 inches. As for width, not too shabby, about 6.5 feet wide, and height fairly modest, about 6 feet even. Now, what you're going to see is ground clearance. Now, that's a great feature on any vehicle, especially a big SUV like this. And what you see here is a whopping 8 inches. Now, of course, this has got that 4Motion. We're going to give you that all-wheel drive prowess, and definitely with 8 inches, you can get through the mud, the muck, and even the snow. Now, if you like the profile of this vehicle, one thing you're truly going to like is the grille warfare. And when you look at the overall design, they coupled the front end quite nicely with the overall feel of this vehicle. And what I'm referring to is the horizontal sweeping look of the front end. That versus other models that are on the market that have more of a vertical-like approach. I'm referring to the headlights that are stacked, one on top of the other, maybe have some accent lighting that go down. That is a more vertical approach and really makes the vehicle appear more narrow. That's one approach to an SUV. What I like here is this is truly a wide vehicle, so they gave the front end more of a wide sweeping like look, and you see it here with the grille. As the grille sweeps across, it's nice and broad. They didn't keep it too narrow, also didn't go vertical. This gives you a nice wide look to the front end. They coupled it with some modest headlights on both sides, really aggressive looking design underneath. Otherwise, the whole front end really gives to the sweeping, wide approach to this vehicle. What I also like, of course, is body color is prominent around this front end. Modest chrome accents here and there. Of course, the VW emblem, front and center, thrust right into your face. Lastly is some safety. You'll see parking sensors up here. Really allows you to radar into significant areas of impact, really right down to the quadrant, even sweeps around to the side, giving you about a 180-degree approach when you're entering a parking space. Lastly is down low, this lower rubber fascia, nice and broad, because again, this has got decent ground clearance, and there's no fascia really sweeping out, really nice and tucked. And this continues all the way around the side in kind of a modest trim appointment. This vehicle is pushing about 80-inch wide, and you can see that in the mirrors. And what I'm referring to is the fact they tuck in when this vehicle is locked. And if this vehicle is going to be in urban settings, it's going to want to get in tight, of course, away from vehicles' impact zones when it comes to doors. So I like when this is automated, the vehicle locks these tuck away. Now, as you can see, that lower fascia I mentioned in the front sweeps down here. That's just a nice accent to kind of minimize scrapes and dings, at least on the lower portion. Now, ingress is always a big feature on any vehicle, and what you're going to notice is this is more the innovative one I always talk about. The hand goes right here, it knows you're there, and unlocks it, and pretty much makes ingress so much easier. As you sweep around to the fill-up area, again, a place of security, safety. Some people think this is overthought. Not really. What I like here is when this vehicle is locked, this area is locked. When it's unlocked, simply press right here, it opens right up. One thing we should advance into is going away from the cap model, going to more of a capless, just makes it one step easier. Swing around to the business end of the Atlas. One thing to note is with its size creeping up to about 200 inches, what's going to be great is going to be decent cargo here at the back end, even with the 7 passengers on the inside. But first off, let's look at the overall design. Now, what you're going to notice is a huge bank of glass back here. Nice, modest rear spoiler. Now, one thing I wish that would come back is the operation of this rear glass, something a lot of SUVs have gotten away from. Used to be you could pop it, allows for longer items to extend out. Possibly that might be a good area for Atlas to look at, really sets themselves apart from the competition. Now, as for the overall design, again, straightforward when it comes to the overall look. There's not a lot of chiseling. Even the angle here is just enough, not too much articulation and creeping into the headroom numbers. Also, you have safety. You got nice backup sensors that couple nicely, of course, with the front end. Extend over here to the side, really a 180 look when you're backing up, and it does come with a backup camera. Now, when it comes to the operation of this tailgate, depending on the model, it's either manual or powered. This particular model is powered. Now, there's 3 ways to get in here. One is, of course, squeeze the little trigger here. It's going to rise to the occasion. Press the key fob. Or you can do the motion activated one, which is where you use your leg. Now, basically all you gotta do is come up here, then step back, and it's gonna rise to the occasion. One thing we did notice with the hands-free operation, the goal of swinging of your leg, is you really got to know exactly where it is it's going to respond, because in some cases it just didn't operate. You also have to know to step back so it knows you're clear. But once you figure that out, it's just another way to get in this rear cargo area so much easier. Now, looking at the overall space, what you're going to find is around about 20 cubic feet of space behind the third row, and that's pretty whopping considering that's much bigger than an average sedan. And with all the people in place, there's plenty of acreage back here even for the average stuff you're going to carry. Now, with the third row laid flat, you're going to increase it to around about 55 cubic feet, and as you lay all the seating flat, it's going to go to around about 96. One thing for added security is a rear tonneau cover, and you'll notice there is space for one, and as you lay these seats flat, there is one that actually extends over this whole rear cargo, and that's really beneficial to hide really what's in this vehicle. Now, what I like is the overall operation of all the seating. First off, here in the third row is this headrest, and what you'll notice, it really extends up when you have people sitting there. Otherwise, they are kind of a blind spot when they're fully in place, so pretty much keep them down when there's no one back here. Also, for laying them flat. Now, this is a two people design back here, 50-50 split, so real easy. Huge long cord here, simply pull, it's going to release it, and it lays flat. And what I like is the fact you don't really have to worry about it being stuck or move seats forward. All this can transition quite easily into cargo. It's always good to know what lies beneath the cargo floor, so let's take a look. What you'll see back here is a very modest rear cargo covering, and once you tuck it up out of the way, you will see this rear subwoofer by Fender. Now, it looks like there's no spare built in, but actually once you unscrew this here, lift it up out of the way, there's a spare tucked underneath with all the operation for jacks, so that's there in case you need it. With as big as this SUV is, they definitely have to deliver when it comes to horsepower, because you can't be anemic when you tap the gas, especially on any VW that's known for its kind of four-wheel grip at the corners. Now, what you're going to see is 2 options, either a 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine or the as-tested 3.6 liter V6. Now, horsepower difference is fairly modest between the two. Now, what you're going to notice is around about 236 horses and 258 foot-pounds of torque on the turbocharged model, or 276 horses and 266 foot-pounds of torque here on the V6. And what I found is this truly is spirited. Now, I didn't test the turbocharged. I still think that will give you modest get up and go, but I always prefer to go with a bigger power plant when it is, well, a bigger SUV. Now, either power plant, the 2.0 liter comes only in the front wheel drive, The V6 comes in both front wheel drive or the as tested 4Motion. Inside, this is where the outside numbers, the overall length of this vehicle and width really come into play, and you can definitely see it in the amount of hip room, the cathedral-like headroom up top, and especially the legroom numbers. This vehicle from the outside looks big and feels just the same in here. Now looking at legroom numbers, what you're going to find is around about 41 inches up front, 37 in the second row, and 33 in the back. Plenty of comfort to go around. What I also like is, again, the overall width, because right here in the front, definitely plenty of elbow space, obviously for both front occupants, and even room here on the left side. It really allows any individual to find their comfort level here behind the wheel. Entertainment is a crucial part of any vehicle, and they put it front and center here on the dash under a nice clear glass touchscreen system. Now, as you can tell, it's kind of a motion activated. Certain features really come up as you get close, and you'll see them pop up kind of into their region. Now, as you look around, this is really easy to use. You can actually scroll through numerous presets. Really makes functionality easier. You also see shortcuts here on the left and right. Now, this area is very touch sensitive. Basically what I'm referring to is, as you go up maybe to tune select, if your knuckle or something happens to touch right here, well, it's going to switch to the screen. That can make for a little bit of a learning curve, because every time I went to move something, I accidentally touched a different source or whatever, and this was going haphazardly wherever it wanted to go. But once you figure that out, get the shortcuts down, you're going to find this really to be intuitive and truly touch sensitive. Down low, you'll find the climate controls, dual zones up front, and pretty much everything housed right here. A lot of vehicles are making this relate to the screen up above, but pretty much they figured out, well, we can keep it all right here, nice and simple. Now, the temperature select is way here on the left, dial it in specific for front occupants. Also have heated and cooled seats, and the variation and modes is right here. Now, that's one thing that does relate to the screen, and when you press it, you get the functionalities pop up in the lower portion of the screen up above. That does take a little bit of maneuvering versus one selector here that does it all. Fan speed right in the middle, and I like the fact that everything is nice and symmetric and makes it look nice and uniform. Way down low, you'll find a USB connection, power, and auxiliary jack, and what you'll see is actually a huge amount of slanted tray here that can pretty much hold any device as it's charging, or at the least when it's connected. Between the front occupants, you will find dual cup holders with nice springy attachments that really allow the beverages to hold nice and tight. Over here is your various driving modes, really for the 4Motion type system. Pretty much big snow, on the road, mountainous, whatever. For a novice like me, real easy to dial it in. Now, this is your parking cameras. Pretty much press that, gives you that surround view, the bird's eye, lets you see around this vehicle really without getting out or looking even out the window. What I also like is this right here, something we don't try a lot, but it is the park assistant. Now, what that does is really for the novice in tight areas. It will pretty much help you park this vehicle, and as big as it is, it may be necessary for some drivers. For the center console, you're going to find one huge compartment, really a catch-all for anything you throw in there. Also has connectivity where you can charge a device. For the gauge cluster, no analog system here, but all digital with the good old readout for the tach and speedometer, and those are adjustable to really show exactly what you're looking for. What I truly like is the huge digital readout in the middle. Now, when you do hit the park assist button, what you'll notice is there is a diagram showing you exactly what you do. In this case, we're doing a little bit of parallel parking. It's going to tell you to drive forward, it's going to sense the vehicles, of course, and it's going to walk you through it. Really an intuitive system, and makes, well, life a little bit easier. Looking at the second row, what you're going to find is a somewhat stylized rear bench seating. Fairly straightforward, not too bad, pretty comfortable, and they can adjust multiple ways, even slide forward to accommodate passengers in the back with better leg room. What I also like is this is a tri-zone system when it comes to the climate. Of course, dual zones up front, a third zone back here. They even have digital readout here for their temperature, even fan speed control, as well as heated seats for the outside occupants. Even better is these backseat passengers are definitely going to want connectivity, and they have it in the form of 2 USB power supplies, as well as a household outlet that's hidden there behind a little hatch. For operation here in the second row, the third row is fairly easy. Pull on the little tug handle here. takes a little bit of figuring. Now what you have here is a release on the shoulder. Once you pull that, this is going to tumble forward. That's more for ingress, and look at how much room there is here. You can clearly step in this vehicle quite easily to access that third row, something that's not that easy in a lot of vehicles. Now once you slide this back, you can simply pull on this handle. It's going to ease it back, and then you may need to pull on this to get it further back to its original position. Now if you want to go to cargo, that's actually this handle down low. Right here by your left hip, you're simply going to squeeze on that. This is going to tumble forward. And again, what I like with this seat, almost in its furthest back position, you'll notice that the headrest still remains. And what you also notice is clearly a nice flat cargo floor. Really allows for transitioning of people to cargo in one fell swoop. Now it does for this edition Road Warrior. Now test drive behind the wheel of the 2018 Volkswagen Atlas, their first kind of offering for 3 rows, and really stepping up and resizing, rethinking what VW can deliver when it comes to their SUVs. After all, they've done quite well in the sedan lineup, so they've basically learned how to make things bigger, and they've done it quite well here. And the things we like, of course, is delivering those 3 rows in a nice overall footprint, plenty of horsepower under the hood, and definitely coupling it nicely with cargo space. And as always, we'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.